What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and it's time to give you my 2023/2024 college football New Year's Six Bowl predictions heading into the 2023/24 college football season. Yesterday, I gave you my college football playoff predictions. You can go back and watch that video if you haven't seen it yet, and who I predicted to win the national championship game as well. And how these New Year's Six Bowl games are going to work, we're going to be basing it off of my predictions, from the regular season all the way to the conference standing / conference championship predictions as well. And the New Year's Six Bowl games are pretty different this year. They were pretty easy to predict last year when we did week-by-week predictions anyway, during the college football season in 2022. But the New Year's Six Bowl predictions are a lot different this year. I think they're, wanting some big matchups this year in this year's New Year's Six Bowl games. And obviously the college football playoff semifinals are at a different New Year's Six Bowl game every single year. And we're going to conclude those here in this video as well. So let's get right into it here with my New Year's Six Bowl predictions for the 2023/24 college football season. And we'll start with the Rose Bowl in the first college football playoff semifinal matchup. And that's USC and Michigan. This is the number 3 versus number 2 seed matchup. I do have USC winning the Pac-12 championship. I don't think it's going to be an easy path for them to win it all this year in the Pac-12. Michigan, though, I think they have some easy path a little bit, but not really as an easy path of another team, maybe like for Georgia perhaps. But I do have Michigan losing a regular season game to Penn State on the road, but that's going to be enough for them to still put them in the Big Ten championship. And I think Michigan will win it all this year in the Big Ten. So USC, I think for the first time, like I said in yesterday's video, USC got in here as a 2-loss team, and I think for the first time we're going to see a 2-loss team in the college football playoff, but not one, 2 teams I think will make the college football playoff as a 2-loss team. So, and USC is one of those teams that I predicted them to, be in there as a 2-loss team, and I think they just get in because I have them, beating Washington in the Pac-12 championship. So I think USC, I think they'll make it this year into the college football playoff. Michigan, I think they do win in their Big Ten championship game for the 3rd consecutive year in a row. So that's the Rose Bowl, the college football playoff semifinal matchup. Moving on to the number 4 versus number 1 matchup. And that's the Sugar Bowl, and it's Oklahoma and Georgia here, the Big 12 versus the SEC. Most likely going to be SEC opponents next year. You got Oklahoma here as my number 4 seed, another one of those 2-loss teams that I predicted yesterday in the college football playoff. I think Oklahoma gets in just because they win their Big 12 championship game. And obviously, it was a tough, call between Oklahoma and Alabama to put in here. Alabama was another one of those 11-2 type teams, but I have Alabama losing the SEC championship, so that's how Oklahoma, I think, would get in based on my conference championship predictions and everything. And I do have Oklahoma beating Texas, getting revenge on them from the regular season. So I think Oklahoma will get in here as the number 4 seed, and then Georgia, I think, has the easiest path to get to the college football playoff this year. I do have them winning the SEC championship game against Alabama. Oklahoma and USC, though, like I said in yesterday's video, I don't feel very confident with 2 of these teams to make it to the playoff this year. You never know. Upsets happen in college football. I wouldn't really call it an upset if Oklahoma and USC got into the playoff, but I think it would just really shock everybody if Oklahoma did make it in after a 6-7 season last year. So those are the college football playoff semifinal matchup. Let's now go to the 4 New Year's Six Bowl games now, and we'll start with the Cotton Bowl. And that's LSU and Ohio State. I really love to see this matchup here between the Tigers and the Buckeyes. You got LSU that almost made it to the, you got LSU that really almost won it all last year in the SEC. They won the SEC West. This is a well-coached team. You got Brian Kelly that's done a really good job, already in his first year at LSU. But now, entering his second year, I think LSU is going to be a really more explosive team. I don't think it will be quite enough, though, to make it to the SEC championship. I do have them losing to Alabama in the regular season. I also have them losing to Ole Miss. LSU, I had them at 10-2 to get to the Cotton Bowl. Same thing with Ohio State. I do have Ohio State losing a non-conference game to Notre Dame on the schedule. Then I have them losing to Michigan. But let's see if Oklahoma and USC lose. Maybe LSU can get in, and so can Ohio State based on those conference championships. If USC and Oklahoma lose their conference championship games, LSU and Ohio State could very well get in. So LSU and Ohio State here. I think people are kind of predicting this matchup to happen in the Cotton Bowl. Like I said, the New Year's Six bowl games are a little bit different from last year, but I think LSU and Ohio State is a matchup I like to see here in the Cotton Bowl. I think both teams are pretty even. You look at the roster, I mean, not pretty even in returning production, but I mean, both of these teams got a lot of talent on both sides of the football. So that's my first New Year's Six bowl prediction, the Cotton Bowl. Moving on to the Fiesta Bowl. We have Texas and Washington here, two of the runner-ups here from each of their conference championship games. Texas in the Big 12, Washington in the Pac-12. And this is also going to be a rematch from last year's Alamo Bowl. I believe that's what the bowl game was last year between these two teams. Texas, I think, will be able to get to a New Year's Six bowl game even with a 9-4 record. And then you got Washington, the runner-ups here in the Pac-12. I think they still get in as well as a 9-4 team. They were 9-3. Both of these teams are 9-3 based on my predictions heading into their conference championship games. So if you count the losses, that would be 4 losses for them. But I think, the committee is going to choose the runner-ups in the, conference championships and put them in a New Year's Six bowl game and everything. We'll find out who the better runner-up is from each conference. But this is a matchup I like to see again. I mean, it wasn't really a game that was kind of, competitive. I mean, Washington looked like the better team last year, but I think Texas would be ready for revenge if this game were to happen in the Fiesta Bowl. So that's my Fiesta Bowl prediction. Moving on to the Peach Bowl, and we got Tulane and Clemson. I got Tulane as the highest Group of 5 team. I think this is the first time I kind of talked about Tulane in a while. This team is going to be really good. We saw it from last year, defeating USC in the Cotton Bowl. I think they have a really good shot to beat, Clemson here in the Peach Bowl if this game were to happen this weekend. But Clemson, I think, is the more talented team here. Experience-wise, Tulane has the more experienced roster. You got their quarterback coming back for another year for this Tulane team. Clemson, like I said, has a lot of question marks, but Clemson, they're in the Peach Bowl here. I do have them losing their ACC championship game to Florida State. I think that's how they end up here in the Peach Bowl. But I think both of these teams are not pretty even. I think Clemson has the more talented team, like I said, but experience-wise goes to Tulane. It really wouldn't shock me if Tulane defeated Clemson here. It really shocked me last year when Tulane defeated USC in the Cotton Bowl. But it wouldn't really shock me this year if they defeated Clemson because Clemson has been inconsistent now in the last couple years. So this is the matchup I think I'm kind of, looking forward to if it happens. But this is my prediction here in the Peach Bowl. It's Tulane versus Clemson. Let's now go to our last New Year's Six bowl game, and that would be the Orange Bowl. And I got Alabama versus Florida State. This is a matchup I like to see here. The SEC versus the ACC. I got Alabama as the runner-ups in the SEC championship, and I got Florida State as your ACC champions. Florida State would be sitting there at 10-3. Alabama would be sitting there at 11-2 with a loss to Georgia in the SEC championship. But I think both of these teams are pretty even. I think experience-wise, Florida State has the more experienced team, obviously. They got a lot of production, including some transfers coming in. Alabama, I think, has the more talented roster. I mean, Nick Saban knows how to get it done, but I don't think it will be quite enough to make it to the college football playoff this year. Like I said earlier, it came down to a tiebreaker between Oklahoma and Alabama for that 4th spot. And also maybe for that 3rd spot as well. Maybe I could have put Alabama in there, but I think, based on my conference championship predictions, I did have Alabama losing the conference championship game in the SEC to Georgia, and then I had Oklahoma and USC both winning their conference championships. So I think that's how the committee would put it that way. I think, with Oklahoma win the Big 12 and, USC win the Pac-12, I think it would just knock Alabama in that 5th spot. So then Florida State here, I do have them winning the ACC championship against Clemson. If Florida State, if they probably would have lost, to maybe Clemson in the ACC title game, they probably would be in the Peach Bowl. And if Florida State probably would have won that game, they're going to end up in the Orange Bowl. But Clemson, if they would have won that game, they probably would have, end up here in the Orange Bowl. We probably get an Alabama versus Clemson matchup. But that's my Orange Bowl prediction. It's Alabama and Florida State. And those are my New Year's Six bowl predictions heading into the 2023/24 college football season. Give me your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think about these New Year's Six bowl predictions? Give me your New Year's Six bowl predictions down in the comments below as well. And also go back and watch that college football playoff prediction video from yesterday if you haven't seen it. And stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.